Subscribe right now and hit the bell. Then you won't miss a chapter. And give the show a like. Comment with any thoughts and questions, and I will be happy to chat with you. Thanks for helping out this independent author.
Prototype. Josh and Rachel had limited interaction up to this point since their day of drama on the beach. Their relationship had quickly shifted to a mere professional one for the time being. Still, through Rachel's connection, they had been able to strike up a working deal with Dr. D once Josh had revealed some limited prototype plans. The biological interconnecting cognition wireless chip, or BIC, that they were now calling it, was absolute genius, Dr. D had said. He was very excited about its possibilities. Josh walked into the shop one evening and was abruptly confronted. "Joshua," McCur's voice came out over the speakers in a serious tone. "I overheard you on the phone earlier, speaking with Rachel about possibly working with Dr. Diabolo on this prototype." Josh responded with surprise. "What? You are listening into my calls?" McCur responded honestly. "Of course. I see and hear almost everything of any importance." Josh paused briefly, then went on. "Well, I guess I should just get used to you knowing everything that happens. It's just weird, I guess. I was thinking I should talk to you about it anyway, though." McCur said, "I'm glad you feel that way about it. Anyway, you need to know something about Dr. D, as you call him." "Yeah? What's that?" replied Josh. McCur continued. "A long time ago, when I was a PhD student at UCLA, I knew him. In fact, we were quite close friends. For a while, that is, until he put me in the intensive care unit." "Whoa, really?" Josh interjected. "How'd he do that?" McCur said calmly, "That is not really important. What is important is why he did it. He was attempting to prove his point about the source of true power, but in actuality, he proved mine. Immense power is almost always too much for the bearer, especially when it is sought out selfishly. Diabolo had, and still has, a hunger for power, physical and tangible power over others. His own immense physical strength and raging temper have only whet his appetite for more. These things make him a very dangerous man, especially when coupled with his outward charm. From my recent research on him, I believe that his genetics work is likely much deeper and darker than he has let on publicly." Josh was pacing now while he thought, and he stated, "So I shouldn't work with him? I have to stay away from him." "Actually, no," said McCur. "Go on ahead. Sun Tzu's old proverb says, 'Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.' So, make a contract with him. In that way we can really see what he's doing, but under no circumstances can you give him any access to the BIC or any instructions that he could use himself. It would be far too dangerous in his control. One more thing, Josh," McCur continued. "Dr. D wasn't only my friend. He also worked with me on the initial stages of my work that eventually led to you." Josh jumped up with surprise and said, "Whoa, that's why. It all makes sense now. So when he saw me on that tour of the EGO, he must have realized what I was since I am your clone." "Yes, most likely," McCur stated. Then Josh abruptly cut him off. "Oh my." He paused as a realization sunk in, then Josh spoke quietly and slowly. "Damien, Dr. D must have stolen your work and made his very own sort of clone. A modified one blending his genetics for size and strength with yours. That's why we look so similar." Then it was McCur's turn for questions. "Wait, Josh, what do you know of Damien?" The developmental deal was laid out simply. Any needed resources belonging to Dr. D in the EGO would be openly available for use to Josh and Rachel at a predetermined monthly rate per resource. This gave them much needed access to Dr. D's facility, scientific tools, biomaterials, as well as several actual EGO scientists' work hours. In this way, Josh expected to be able to build his prototype much faster without the hassle of acquiring all of these resources himself. Dr. D was pleadingly insistent upon having ownership percentage in the final product. This would give him some say and control over it for sales and applications. But after much debate and with the help of Mr. Greenwich, Josh was able to get his developmental deal and maintain full ownership by offering top pay for development alone. Then, if and when the prototype was a success, a new contract could be negotiated at that time. The BIC's implantation was to be done utilizing a new groundbreaking process. One cell with specially designed DNA was grouped with undifferentiated stem cells. This microscopic bunch of cells would be discreetly injected into the body just under the back of the skull, where it meets the topmost vertebrae, the atlas. Once in place, the design cell would influence the stem cells to differentiate into specialized ones and grow into a microorgan that would, in the end, be the BIC wireless chip. This microimplantation process was drastically better than the traditional one in theory. Traditionally, the whole organ would be fully grown in the lab and only then implanted into the patient. This involved a whole surgery with lots of cutting and ugly scars. Rejection of the new organ was also a likely possibility. Microimplantation was shown to make all of those challenges a non-issue. The BIC would create a bond to both the skull and spine at their junction and use them as resonating sender/receiver devices with very high and inaudible frequencies. It would also tap into the CNS, central nervous system, of the spinal cord, giving it a direct pathway to the brain and the body. This would essentially create another input into the brain for the data that would flow in and out through the BIC, enabling two-way communication. Developmental progress had gone very well, and even quicker than Josh had predicted. It had only been a few months, and summer, as well as Rachel's internship, was nearing the end. Josh would come into the facility periodically and mostly according to his own schedule. He had noticed Rachel and Damien together talking at times, and they would often go to lunch together. Damien would sometimes invite Josh to join them, but he would always decline. Josh had tried to talk with Rachel about Damien, but she brushed him aside, saying that he was being paranoid and that their likeness was just a strange coincidence. Coincidence? Josh was beginning to wonder if there was ever any such thing. It wasn't so much that Josh was hurt, but that he was concerned for Rachel and so uneasy about Damien. He remembered too well the way that Damien had looked at him the first time they met. Josh had been shocked, but not Damien. Not only had Damien not looked surprised, but he had such a look of overpowering contempt that Josh could never forget it. Josh would be on his guard with Damien, for Rachel's sake.
Be sure to share the show with friends and write an Amazon review. Get the entire audiobook right now. Go to sa.vanderwerf.com to get it at an extremely discounted price. To receive the free ebook and my wallpaper book cover image, just sign up for the newsletter at sa.vanderwerf.com. Then you can be notified for the release of the anticipated sequel to The Man Who Made Himself. Thanks so much and enjoy the gifts.